Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another video. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I'm back with a update, and I want to share a few ideas with you around the upcoming conjunction of Mars and the South Node. So this is a quite rare influence. It generally happens just once every 2 years. It pretty much opens the month of October, and it really does set the stage for what we can anticipate as we move into eclipse season. So the first eclipse will happen this month on the 14th or the 15th, depending where on the globe you're located. And that happens at 21 degrees of Libra. But before we get there, we do have Mars in Libra conjoining the South Node in Libra at 24 degrees of Libra. And at the same time, Mercury also joins or enters the sign of Libra, on the same day. So this is definitely going to give us some insight into the eclipse energy, because the node will, this is basically within 3 degrees of when that eclipse happens. So this week, you'll probably experience your energy being a little bit low. Mars and the South Node together really do bring an energy that is about purification. It's about cleansing. It's about letting go. And it is very much about sort of like a loss, if that makes sense. You know, K2, which is known in the Indian traditions, or the South Node, does have a bit of a mysterious element to it that can be about destruction. The South Node is very destructive in of its nature, as is Mars. So it can bring a destruction in the Libra part of your birth chart, or the general significations of Libra in general. And that can describe relationships, diplomacy, aesthetic, and general harmony and getting along with other people. K2 or the South Node can be about isolation as well, and a sort of, anguish of the soul, leaving its manifestation and being caught up in a contradicted karmic energy. When you see the South Node, whether it's in your natal chart or conjoined a planet by transit, or even natally, there can be this being caught up in some kind of fantasy or even an illusion, kind of like not being of this world in some way, shape, or form. I see this a lot where there is this energy of escapism is a big thing, not really interested in material ambitions. So they can be overlooked or ignored, or a little bit of depression or fear can come through here. So if we take those kind of ideas with the South Node and apply it to Mars in Libra, some of that loss, some of that fear, some of that sort of low-level anxiety could take place in the space of relationships in particular. Even more so, what happens this week throughout October and leading up into the eclipse season, especially after Venus has spent a great deal of the past several months retrograde in Leo, desires have changed, wants have changed, needs have changed. So what might that mean now? Can you continue to do what you've always done? Can you continue to go along just to get along? Something tells me that it's going to be a big fat no on that one, where you may not be so available to compromise. It might be a little bit of an energy, what about me? And that's kind of not what Libra does. Libra really concerns itself with consensus and gathering opinion or reading the room, whereas Mars just wants to sort of go forth and go for the jugular, so to speak. So if you have been in that position of compromise, or, as I said, going along to get along, or, sort of keeping the peace, but as a result of that, creating conflict within yourself, Mars and the South Node can be very, destructive and very agitated, and anger that is very much suppressed. If you sort of think about Libra, it is the opposite of Mars, where there is that more healthy expression of direct anger in Mars in Aries. Mars in Libra, it is just that sort of kill them with kindness or smiling sweetly, but not really being direct in what you say. So there could be that potentiality to have those words or conversations or take action around the topics that may be a throwback to the Venus retrograde phase. So if you have had changes in desires, if you no longer want what you once wanted, so now what? Like this, it's almost like the proof is in the pudding, or we're now in the, okay, this has got real now, as Mars makes its way through the last leg of Libra and conjoins the South Node. You might reach that proverbial fork in the road where you just can't continue to compromise, or you can't continue to keep the peace. And there has to be some recalibration of equilibrium in a particular situation. If it's been one-sided, maybe you need to pull that pendulum back somewhat. So there's so much I could say about this. But one thing that does add maybe a little bit of help or support in this is that Libra is an air sign in of itself, okay? And now we have Mercury move into Libra and share space with Mars and the South Node. Now, while Mercury has no particular special quality in Libra, it does bring voice to a situation rather than suppressing feelings or suppressing communication or suppressing true wants and desires. Mercury is going to open the pathways of discussion and maybe be able to build that bridge between where we are now versus where we might need to go. So conversations can be very helpful this week, even if the conversation is a little bit tricky or a little bit different. We still do, we're nearly in Venus in Virgo territory. So Venus will be in Virgo by Sunday. And that's where we're going to get we're going to get an exchange between Mercury in Libra and Venus in Virgo. So they're in each other's signs. And so this may add a little bit of help or support. You may not reach a resolution or an outcome, but at least there's something there when those two planets are exchanging signs. So another idea with Mars and the South Node is a depletion of energy. Mars is already spreading itself very thin in Libra, thinking about what other people would say, what other people might want, or what other people might desire before just going for it. I'll share a quick story with you. Many moons ago, one of my water trio pals, well, we're all together actually, us water trio pals, and Alicia was driving. I was in the passenger seat, and Alicia said, oh, do you want to pick some music? And then I'm saying, well, what music would you like? And so anyway, I picked some music, trying to get a bit of consensus. What do you like? What do you like? Before I, went straight in for the metal. Anyway, I chose something, and then in typical Aries style, don't like that. And the music was changed. And that's, it was a very interesting dynamic that happened there, which was very Aries Libra. So, this week it is maybe about taking off the facade that Libra has. Now, I have Libra planets, my sect light's in Libra. So I can say that, yeah, sometimes we play nice even if we don't want to. We can bitchcraft a situation to kind of say what we're saying without really saying it, if that makes sense. If you've been playing that game and you're kind of tired of it, this week it might be all holds barred. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to listen to that music. I don't want to go in that direction. And that might be a little bit of a shock. It might upset the apple cart a little bit, but it can also be very liberating. The South Node does provide loss, so you can be lightened, so you can be liberated in some respects. Sometimes the South Node is just like a good cosmic haircut where you sometimes think to yourself, why didn't I do that earlier? I feel so much lighter. I feel so much like a weight's been lifted off. Somewhere along the lines, I don't know where I've heard this. I've heard the South Node described as the great anus of the cosmos, and it is reminds us that whatever we excrete or eliminate or let go of really does become that compost for future growth and for future developments. Combined, the South Node and Mars, particularly in the sign of Libra, can really sharpen aesthetics. So this might be a period of time where you really pour your energy into a creative endeavor, a piece of writing, art, or even your relationships. Relationships might be taking a lot of energy and effort for you now. It could be the topics of your Libra house that's just really consuming right now, and that idea of something's got to give. And it might be you have to, sharpen that Mars sword and, play the diplomatic card, but be a little bit more direct. Provide the information you need or get the information you need in order to sort out the problem, in order to feel better about the problem, and in order to, as I said earlier, build that bridge in some way, shape, or form. This can also be a really ideal time to get back into the body. Over the weekend here in Brisbane, some people I know were competing in, what do they call it? The bodybuilding shows. I just lost the word for it. And so the idea of aesthetic physical activities where you'll spend a long time dieting down, what we call cutting, so you can reveal a better aesthetic and better conditioning with your body. So this is a tempered and concerted effort over time. Mars South Node reminds us that this is a marathon, not a race. And it's that slowing down of martial energy, that cooling off, and maybe thinking about something in the long term. Mars South Node can also be that need to sweat, to get some salt out of the body. Saunas might be really relaxing this week, or if you're already sweating up enough, you might just need to replace salt and water, particularly if you're in a state of depletion, whether that's physically, whether that's spiritually. You might need to avoid combat or getting into conflict, because Mars and the South Node together can actually be pretty poisonous. So you need to think about, okay, well, avoiding the poison, if that makes sense. So diplomacy, staying cool, calm, and collected, which is something Libra excels at. It might be communicating rather than being quiet and bottling up. Maybe it is about expressing. What do you think about that? The consensus of ideas can be really helpful this week. So hopefully that's helped you navigate the stars a little bit for this first week of October. This will set the tone, I think, for what you might be dealing with as the eclipse builds up. And if you would like to learn more about astrology, if you'd love to get started, I'm actually open enrollment for a new cohort in my Contemporary Astrology Program. So that's there as well. I'll put a link in the show notes. The October installment for the Golden Circle is available. And I'm also speaking for Nightlight Astrology this month, and I'm going to be doing a free webinar for Adam over there on the fixed stars. So hopefully you can join me there. You can sign up for free over on the Nightlight Astrology website as well. So I'd love to hear your comments. Does this hit a point in your birth chart that is ruffling a few feathers for you, where you might have to act in a way that is not your usual go-to? I know I certainly am. I'd love to hear how that is all playing out for you. So do feel free to leave a comment, subscribe if you like this video. It helps a lot. And I really look forward to catching you in the next video really soon.